So when we talk about how an author develops a character, like Ichabod Crane, um, an author can do it in one of two ways. An author can either use direct characterization, and by direct characterization, we're talking about the way that the author directly tells us about a character. There's no arguing or disputing what a character is or looks like because the author directly tells us. Indirect characterization is the author showing us things about a character. Indirect characterization is a little bit more nuanced because it requires us to make inferences. It's not as cut and dry. You might have a different interpretation about this character than the person sitting beside you. Ultimately, direct and indirect characterization together are how an author develops a character. So you're going to be making a foldable that walks you through the acronym for indirect characterization. Because this is the more challenging one, we're going to spend some time on it today. We're going to look at a character's speech, that's the S, a character's thoughts, the T, the character's effect on others, their relationships, how others react to this character. We're going to look at the things that they do, their actions, and we're going to look at their looks. How are they described and how do they appear? These together I call the Steele method of indirect characterization: speech, thought, effect, action, and looks, the acronym being STEEL. So how do you make this foldable?
So to make a indirect characterization foldable, one that I like to call STEEL, we are going to take a sheet of paper and we are going to fold it in half like this. So it looks like that. Okay. So again, you're taking your sheet of paper and folding it this way. So you get something that looks like this. Once I have my paper folded like this, I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut 5 tabs. And 5 is really important. We don't want 6. They don't have to be perfect, but eventually you're going to cut them right across the top part. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now that I have it cut, I'm going to label them. My first tab is going to be speech. So it opens up and I'm going to write some stuff in here. The next one is going to be thoughts. Next is effect on others, actions, and looks. So 5 tabs, 5 things.
So in class we looked at finding something that Ichabod was thinking in the text. And I think the one that we found was like over on page 6 of our reading, where about 3rd paragraph down, Ichabod is thinking. And what he's seeing is he's seeing the fat meadowlands and the rich fields of wheat, of rye, of buckwheat, and Indian corn, and the orchards burdened with ruddy fruit which surrounded the warm tenement of Van Tassel. His heart yearned after the damsel who was to inherit these domains, and his imagination expanded with the idea how they might readily be turned into cash and the money invested in immense tracts of wild land. So what he's thinking here, let's write this down. When we have a really long quote, we're just going to end up writing the beginning first few words and the ending first few words of the section we're looking at. So here I'm to begin as the enraptured Ichabod fancied, and then I'm going to skip. And in order to skip in a quote, I'm going to use brackets because the ... dots don't actually happen in my quote. And this ... means that I'm skipping all the way down to let's just go to the end of the paragraph. Or the Lord knows where. Now, when I'm making a quotation from the text, I'm going to end my quotation, but I'm not going to put a period. No period here. And the reason is because I'm going to put a space and parentheses and the page number in the parentheses and the period outside. This is called a parenthetical citation. So I've written this under the Thoughts tab. And now on the other side, so if I have my thing where I have, this is half my paper, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I wrote it here on my paper. Now, on this part right here, I'm going to write what this tells me about Ichabod. Well, I think that this tells me that Ichabod wants Katrina Van Tassel for her money or her wealth. So Ichabod loves Katrina for her wealth. He doesn't really love her. Maybe he's not genuine. So these are inferences. This isn't something that was directly stated in the text. It's something that I have to infer based on the textual evidence itself, what the author actually says. So this is an example where we used a character's thoughts to tell me something about the character. Your homework is to complete the actions and the looks by finding something in the text that he does and something where he is described. How does he look? We have a lot of descriptions from our readings last night at the dance. Hopefully this makes more sense for you now, and I will check your work with you guys in class tomorrow.